When I say 7, y'all say days. Hunting for the cheese like a mouse in a maze. Been down all my life, mama thought it was a phase. Same OG, guess I'm stuck in my ways. Last night I had a dream.
Welcome to Neutral Voices, the place where your voice matters.
What's up? What's
What's
up?
up, Dr.
Hey,
Lee?
this is the Voice of the People segment. So
Yes.
this is where we are excited to speak directly to you, our viewers.
Yes.
So
yes.
we're reading comments, questions, and taking phone calls. So we're going straight in because last night we had so much content.
It was deep. It
like
was
we
real
were
deep.
running out of
It was real
time.
deep.
So this is a heavy topic. Let's get right into our comments.
Yes.
So last night we discussed poverty. We touched on it briefly. So we also posed the question on Facebook, how can we solve poverty? Can it be solved? So the comments that we're reading are answering the question. So Mandy says, I think it's important to understand that there are different types of poverty: generational poverty, situational poverty, relative and absolute poverty. I think wages play a large role in the overall issue. However, I also think learned helplessness also plays a role here too. There are other factors that play roles into poverty, such as
We need
Such
to
as-
scroll up.
Do we see it? Scroll up. Sorry,
We
bear
stuck.
with us. Our comments are not moving. This particular comment. Oh, well, so far so good.
I think we know where she was really going with this. And interestingly enough, this kind of, goes with what we were talking about last night as far as the different types of poverty.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to touch on one thing that she said, and it's the learn helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
That is a detriment to most communities when you give people or instill people that they can just wait for something. And
But okay, break that down because I just want to understand clearly. Learned helplessness.
well,
Let's break that down. real
one
good.
is, and we touched on it last night, and I think the welfare system has played a great role in that, where they, in the late 60s, early 70s, they were telling families that if the man is not in the home, we will give you certain things.
Okay.
So that conditioned them
Mhm.
that they just had to sit and wait and eliminate the man from the home, and you couldn't work. And I think Jill touched on it last night. Well, you can't work because you'll lose your child care, you'll lose your free rent, and you
Okay.
just get conditioned
Mm-hmm.
that that's what you have to do. You have to just sit and wait for it to be delivered to you.
Right.
Right.
Your independence is completely taken away. I mean, slim to none. It's almost like a trained,
Mhm.
you're dependent, period.
Yeah,
You learn how
have
to be helpless. You learn how to be hopeless. I mean, with all of that, and we touched on that a little bit last night. But I think she made a really good point when you talk about the learned helplessness. And I think a lot of people look at poverty and say, poverty's a choice. Why don't you just get up and do something about it?
Mhm.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that poverty isn't a choice.
Well,
Who
see-
chooses to be poor? You might make choices that lead up to that.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the
Nobody
people that
chooses to be poor.
says get up and do something, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they only a paycheck away from being
Exactly.
in poverty.
Exactly.
That's right.
And that's what, when you're living from check to check and still trying to figure it out, and you still don't have enough after you even work
Man.
60, 70 hours a week, and you still got, you might bring home $1,200, but you got $1,700 worth of bills that you need to pay.
Right. And
I
your
was just-
transmission goes out.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's hard to sit back and say, oh, well, you need to get out in here and get it. No, it's hard.
It
It's
is
literally
hard.
hard.
Yes, yes.
And like I said, is if you could go to work 60, 70 hours, and you still ain't got it, I mean, what more can you do?
Right, right.
And then the bad part is that some people, when they get their check, they already owe it out. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
you
It's
know, they're
already
not
gone.
even, they're not even making it to, their next payday because
Right.
it's technically
Well,
paid out.
I'm gonna give you an example of poverty that the government has set up, And it's sad. Seniors, think about it. They worked a good portion of their lives.
Mhm.
Now they're on Social Security, and that's their only income. It's a fixed income.
Mhm.
They have to buy medicine. They have to pay their bills. They have to pay utilities, rent, whatever. They have to survive on that set amount a
Mhm.
month.
Mhm.
But they also have to eat. The food stamp standard for somebody that receives Social Security is only like 30 something dollars a month.
Right.
And it's not more than that. So what I'm saying is there are those conditional poverties where these people, when they were working, they were on top. They didn't expect when they retired that they would have to barely get by on like 30 some dollars a month in food stamps.
Right.
My question is, whoever came up with that, give them $30 a month and see can they survive.
I agree. I
Right.
agree.
Now, and just to be clear, was it Mandy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Mandy mentioned absolute poverty because we talked about most of those things last night. So absolute, Clarence, you said you believe that's just straight up poverty.
Poverty, period.
Right.
Period.
And we saw in the video, if Mandy watched last night, we saw in the video and they were talking about the South Sudan. Now, those people are suffering in absolute poverty only because they have no control over their poverty.
Mhm.
They have no way of changing it. Even to say to get up and go out and get a job, their highest paying jobs are $6 a month. Half a gallon of milk is almost $3 a month.
Mhm.
So how are they going to get up and make their situation better?
They're
They
not.
can't.
They
They're
can't.
There's no way that they can do it. So that is an example of absolute poverty.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to bring, for our viewers and people that maybe weren't tuned in to us last night, that we talked about quite a bit of that.
Well,
and
you know something, even
connected
with
to
off of that, I look at some people put themselves in poverty. Because
Now, talk about that.
Yes,
Eve,
talk
when you
about that.
say that.
they put themselves in poverty because you want to be like the Joneses, but can't afford to be the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
You got your son wearing a $200 pair of shoes and your rent is $400.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's not paid.
It is not paid. You got your kids, decked out, and it's funny when your car is worth more than your house. Let's make it make sense. Some people. I mean, you living in an apartment complex and you got a Escalade sitting on 26s.
Stop.
Seriously, though.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
and I'm
we
not-
will not
you're right.
talk about.
But I'm just saying.
What's
and
the
it-
song? I got all my bills
Yeah.
in my mama's name.
Yeah, I mean
On
stuff
the
like
corner,
that.
take it
But-
back.
But I mean, you have to be realistic about it.
I know, but
You
you
go to
telling
some
the
of these-
truth.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not talking about some nice apartments like downtown or way out east or way out west. You stand in the squares and your rims cost more than your rent.
Okay, so and that's funny because I had this. I said you dripping swagoo, but you got a GoFundMe page.
Right.
My point exactly. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, oh, your insurance on your truck or your car costs more than your house.
Right. We call that Escalade poverty.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to
Tell you.
understand.
Yeah.
Hey, you
Who
can't
was
live
that?
like the Joneses and then think, oh, have somebody feel sorry for you when your son, every time a pair of Jordans come out, you got all your kids laced in it, or when your taxes come. Lord
No,
have
no.
mercy.
Okay, so
Jesus,
you will
let's not
not.
talk
We're gonna
about
save that.
We're gonna
save
Ooh,
that
Jesus.
because. But listen, E. So you talking some good truth right now, and it's too bad. But when you know people will buy everything they want,
Mm-hmm.
and don't take care of nothing they need.
and nothing they need. And so I say that because have you ever seen people, and I hate to say this, people that you know that you're related to, and every line that's giving away something free.
Yes.
It could be back to school items, food, etc.
Yes,
It doesn't matter.
yes,
Every
yes.
line that's giving away something free,
Then it.
they are in it and they really don't need it.
And
Man,
that,
you
the thing
see
is
that-
that goes with that is there's so many people that do need it that have too much pride,
Pride
to
to go
stand in
get
that
it.
line.
Yes.
Well,
No.
again, that goes back to, and I think Mandy, and when she said to learn helplessness, as you say, think about it. You'll go and spend all your money for what you want.
A tattoo.
But then once you need something, everybody tell you, well, you need your rent paid, go to Wayne Township. You need your bills paid, go to Canine. So we think that we can spend or waste money because we have these, these agencies that are there to help, but we're not trying to move ourselves out of poverty.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. I know we have a lot of other comments to get to. This is Neutral Voices, voice of the people. So don't forget, call in, please, and leave comments, etc. But meanwhile, so I just wanted to real quick, kind of go back into some stuff we talked about last night.
Yes, ma'am.
And I love that. But one of the things I wrote down was blind to possibilities and opportunities around us. I believe that's the case with some people because you're in this cycle and the help is coming or the help has arrived, but you're blind to the possibilities and the opportunities.
Yes. And unfortunately, like we were talking last night, I think we were ending a show where we were talking about your gifts will make room for you. All of us have some kind of skill, be it babysitting, be it cutting grass, you may be able to paint, but we don't see those as viable ways of making income.
Yeah.
So we're blind to that. Well, some of us are not blind. Some of us, let's be honest, some of us are just absolutely lazy.
Well, you got some that's lazy, but then this is a good insert for the hustler.
Right.
You do have some out grinding hard, and every time you see them, they got a new hustle. I have to admit, at one point, I thought I had so many different hustles, but I really wasn't hustling people. I was selling jewelry. I was selling Mary Kay. I was selling XYZ, just trying to think of other streams of income because people say, you need 7 streams of income. And then later I thought about it. I'm like, I can't sell this jewelry. I don't have enough time to do this because streams flow by themselves effortlessly.
Right.
So I'm thinking, these aren't the streams of incomes.
No, those are different hustles.
They got me working too many more hours.
Yeah, those are different hustles.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, scratch that. I need effortlessly or effortless streams, the real streams.
Right.
So, so don't get caught in that when you hear people say you need 7 streams of income. So don't overwork yourself.
Yes. And poverty, and we're just talking about things because poverty it's nothing that's going to be solved in a blink of an eye.
Right.
As we're getting more comments, think about it. The top 5 states in the United States that suffer poverty, you got to think about them. Mississippi, unfortunately, is the poorest state in the United States.
I was going to say number 1.
Number 1.
Still number 1. Wow.
Their poverty rate is 19.7%.
That's crazy.
Wow. And their unemployment, I was looking at it earlier. Please forgive me, I didn't write it down. But their unemployment is upwards of 25%.
Wow.
1 out of 4
Wow.
people.
Yes. And there's no, jobs going. And I'm not going to play politics in this, but Mississippi is a known Republican state. And
I know you got some other thoughts.
I got other thoughts, but I'm just saying.
My question is this, Clarence. Lyndon Johnson. He declared war on poverty. Why haven't none of the other presidents picked that up at all?
That's a good question.
If a president sit back and declared war on poverty, he knew there was a problem with poverty, why have not one other president picked up that ball and kept running?
Nixon did the war on drugs, and they still fighting that war, ain't they?
Exactly. They're still fighting the war on drugs, but it's like they stopped fighting the war on poverty. And it's crazy because when you have so many people, white, black, orange, purple, green, that are need, wouldn't that be the main thing that you would stand your platform on?
You would absolutely think so, unless it doesn't fit part of their agenda or government's agenda. Because I absolutely agree. I mean, that's what better platform?
What better platform to stand on is I'm gonna change. I'm gonna curve poverty, and it's like you're not curving poverty, but you curving your pockets.
Right, right.
Okay, so we're talking about, you got a comment?
Yep,
Okay,
we had a
so
comment
this
come
is
in.
about the voice of the people. So let's hear what our
So
comments
this
are.
is from Melissa. Melissa says, I believe a lot of it is mentality and learned helplessness. Those in the poverty level actually believe that there is nothing better for them. Their normal is the struggle and accepting the government help. Working harder to improve their situation seems useless. Individuals in poverty receive lower rent, food stamps, Medicaid. Some are high school dropouts, only have a high school education, thus leading to lower paying jobs. The lower paying jobs will barely get them by, but if they actually work, they lose all the benefits they already get. It is more of a struggle by working because that low pay does not make up for the free benefits that they already receive. It actually puts them in a tighter financial situation. It's really just a vicious cycle meant to keep people down. Breaking that mentality and convincing them that they can have better or do better is the hard part.
That's it. That's the cycle that I,
Well,
put
well,
out there
I
last
gotta
night.
partially disagree with this. May I read this, please, Jim? Because I heard you, but I want to see where I want to address this. Melissa, I don't believe a lot has to do with the mentality of people. I know some of it does, but I'm not going to say a lot of it because I know people with degrees
Say
that
it
right
again.
now
Mhm.
are trying to live paycheck to paycheck. They didn't think that, they thought going to, because that's what they were told. You go get you a degree, get
That's
you a
right.
good paying job. You go get you a degree and a good paying job, you're going to get out of poverty. Now they're paying back those school loans.
So that is
They
their
decided-
mentality.
Well, yes and no. It's a learned behavior. As you talked about learned helplessness, there's learned behaviors that, that you think you're doing right, but you still end up in those traps.
And I don't know if you remember last night, I said that poverty adapts to its environment.
Correct.
Yes, it
So
does.
it just depends. One of the things that I have here in my notes, not all poor people have low self-esteem,
Mhm.
and not all rich people
have
high self-esteem. So that part is a mentality.
Right.
So from that perspective, so a lot of times if you don't think higher of yourself, now not too high, because the Bible tells you don't think higher than yourself or think higher of yourself than you should. But if you don't think high enough, then you won't go out there. You won't try to do better.
Right.
And so that I would say would be a mental issue. So in that regard, I agree with that. But a lot of the points that she actually touched on, I have written in my
Mhm.
cycle.
Go
The
ahead.
unemployment and having to work more jobs and then, trying to make more money, and that works against you, and the opportunities, lack of power, no health care, lack of hope, no food, lack of leadership, less supervision. Remember, we talked about the parents not being home
Right.
because
Yes.
they're at work. So that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
You
And I
know,
think
so
a
there's
big
so many things.
misconception, like you just said, poverty isn't all about wealth. It's not all about
Mm-mm.
money. It's about not having access to certain resources.
That's it.
It's not just about being poor as far
Right.
as money. In terms of your cycle, lack of education,
Exactly.
lack of, a foundation, parents, all of that stuff plays into and encompasses what poverty is.
Well, I mean, everybody keeps saying, I keep hearing the lack of education, the lack of education. There's a lot of people that barely graduated from high school are very successful. So
I-
I agree.
So you sitting
I
there-
don't mean it in terms
Well,
of that.
I mean, I'm just saying. I keep hearing
It's
the
not
lack.
but it's not an absolute. The cycle is not absolute. That's just one of the factors, one of the things that could be.
Even
a
with
factor.
people like Clarence said, is a lot of people that got major degrees
Mhm.
that live, and it's not because of. And hold on, it's not because
Get him, E.
It's not because of their student loans or anything else. It's because they can't find their job.
Right.
And
I-
let's be realistic
And I
about it.
agree with
But
And
that.
there's a
of
lot
that-
of there's a lot of people that barely graduated that got their GEDs that still that live way above the poverty line. So we need to kind of understand.
Yeah, but you can't knock education out.
I'm not
Okay,
knocking
so-
education out,
so
but you're
first of
saying
all,
I keep hearing everybody
No.
say the lack of education
because you're going to hear it. Because think about this:
Let's be
without
real-
knowledge, okay, now come on. Without knowledge,
okay,
the
come on.
people perish.
Okay,
Yes.
just
Knowledge-
hold on. Just
is
because I didn't
power.
hold on, just because I didn't go to school, don't mean I can't get knowledge. Let's
You
straighten
can
that out.
get it.
No, let's
I
straighten
said
that out.
the lack of.
Hold on. Just because I didn't go to
You
college,
got to go get it though.
just because I didn't go to college, and just because I got my GED,
Okay, come on now.
don't think I
Well,
can't receive
well, I'm-
knowledge
well,
and,
right now-
and handle my business.
Well,
let's
right
let's
now.
straighten that out
Okay,
while we
but
on
at
Voice of the
this
People.
moment, I need
Let's do it.
at this moment operate as if you
No,
are
I can't.
educated.
No,
okay,
nope.
now
Dude,
listen
do
to
you?
this.
Nope.
Can you let other people talk?
Nope,
for 'em?
nuh-uh.
That's what I'm saying.
The
So-
pitbull is off the chain. Nope.
So
Nope,
what?
I
Go
can't
ahead,
do
Doc.
it.
So
Let me hear
here's
your
the
point
fact.
before I interject.
Here's the facts. It doesn't matter the level. It goes back to the mentality because you can have a PhD degree. If you choose to sit on that and don't do anything, then of course it doesn't matter. But you cannot, and we will not, because this is Neutral Voices, and we are never going to tell our listeners and viewers that education is not important.
Hold on, I'm
And
not saying it.
knowledge-
Hold on, wait a minute.
No,
I'm
no.
not finna do that. No,
No,
you're not finna say I'm saying
no.
that. All I'm saying is just because you
I
didn't.
said it's
No, I'm not finna
important.
let you do that. I'm not finna let you do that.
Listen.
All right.
No,
look,
I'm
may
not
I
listening.
interject
I'm
now?
not
Can
not
I
finna
be
let
the
you do
referee?
that.
Normally,
I
I'm the
can't.
arguer, but I'm going to be the referee right
And
now.
I
I'm
don't
not
wanna
saying.
argue.
I'm not
Let me-
saying.
I just need to finish
No.
my point.
Let me get in that middle ground.
I just want to finish my point.
No,
Go ahead,
I mean
Doc.
that was
saying,
just. I'm not
I
even saying that.
said that
You're not
we're
finna put
not
those in
going
my
to
mouth.
make our viewers think that education is not important.
In other words, you saying that
No.
I'm saying that education is
I'm
not important. I'm not
I'm
saying that.
clarifying.
No, you're not
for someone
clarifying
that
what I'm
could've-
saying.
Okay.
You're not
somebody
clarifying
could've
what I'm saying.
misunderstood the way
So-
you
You're
said
not
it.
clarifying what I'm saying.
This I like this. I like this.
I'm not gonna do it.
That's
Nope.
not gavel.
But can I get in?
Get
and
on
I'm,
in.
And I'm only saying this because I say Eric came from the GED section anyway, so he got to defend his points.
Hold on. First and foremost, I do have a degree. Let's start right there. I do have one. Let's clear that up.
But no, both of you have very valid points. Both of your points are very valid, and both of your
And mine
points
is
are
biblical.
very poignant. And yes, yours is biblical. But here's where the whole problem is.
Stand on
We're
the word.
looking at the people that are in poverty and not the programs that cause poverty.
That's
So
exactly.
here's
I don't try to
hold
agree
on.
with him.
Hold
Nah,
on,
that ain't
hold
what
on.
you
No,
said.
no,
I'm
no.
listening, Karen.
No,
though.
let me
It's
finish.
called
Let me
education.
finish.
Nah,
I have a degree,
Mhm.
but the problem is a lot of degrees put people in great debts.
Okay, so let me just pause right there. I'm not speaking education, get a textbook, go to school. I'm talking about educating yourself.
Okay.
That's
what
not what
that
you
was
said,
my
though.
whole
Street, now
problem.
That's
I'm
what you
talking
was
about
saying.
I'm gonna get you on that
being
point, too. I'm gonna
educated.
get
That's
you
what
on
So
that
I
when
was
I say
saying.
the lack of education, I mean the lack of knowing, the lack of
Yes.
knowledge.
That's what
Because
I was
then,
saying.
That's why I said a lot of times they don't see the possibilities in front of them. They don't understand the opportunities, so they don't take advantage of it. So you have to be educated sometimes. That's why it's called resources in your
Yes.
community.
But-
So we tell people all the time, we have resources, but if you don't get up and go look or do some research, you'll never know about
Right.
those.
And I know people who have college degrees that come to me because they can't write a check in their 40s. I know people
Absolutely.
in their 40s that are grown adults that have no idea what their credit score is. So I think you can have a PhD or whatever and
That's
still
right.
not be educated in
Yes.
what it takes. Money's not going to solve poverty. If we throw money at people who are
Yes.
poor and they don't know
Yes.
what to do with that money, they're going to
Yes.
land right back where they were.
I
Absolutely.
wholly agree. I wholly agree. But still, we're one thing. And let's look at poverty as we look at racism. And I only say this is because they are both institutional strongholds.
Mhm.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. For you to get out of poverty, we talked about the African American poverty. We are 2 to 3 generations behind because we couldn't own land. We couldn't own anything. And there were certain places we couldn't live, we couldn't do. So we were generationally behind. So that's nothing we can do because that was institutionalized.
Because
There's
of the red
nothing
line.
there's nothing we can really do to overcome that unless the whole system is wiped clean and we can change the system. So that is going to stay in place
Mhm.
until there's a change in the structure. Correct.
Absolutely.
I'm with you.
So that's why I say we're talking about the people, but we're not talking about the programs that things that were institutionalized, that were put in place to
Mhm.
keep you in poverty.
And that's
I'm gonna
exactly.
tell y'all a hustle, and
Okay.
we don't think about it. Insurance, car insurance,
Yeah.
and all of that. Think about it. You got to have insurance. I mean, things that they put on you that you got to have insurance. You can't afford insurance, you can't drive, then you can't go to work. These are things
Absolutely.
and programs.
Yeah.
Medicine. Why is medicine so high?
When it's only take like $2 to make.
Yes. Why is medicine so high?
Everything.
But you need the insurance for the medicine and all that, and that's where it goes. I think we have a caller, so I'm gonna get out.
Let's definitely
I'll get out of my
address
point
our
real quick.
caller. This is the voice
Oh,
of
I'm
the people,
coming back.
and it's
Oh,
all
I'm
about
coming. I got a rebuttal.
you. So, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, thank you so
Okay,
much
thank
for
you.
holding
Hey.
on. Do you have a question or a comment?
I would like to agree with the gentleman that stated about the education.
Okay.
I have 2.5 credits, high school credits. I dropped out. I was expelled. It wasn't that I was failing. I just kept getting expelled. I wasn't the greatest person back then. And now I'm a very successful realtor.
Okay.
You know, and it took me it took a mentality to take things seriously. And what my comment about this was that when you're young, these young people, they get these jobs, and that's exactly what they are. They're just jobs to them. They're paychecks. They're social places, social gatherings. And what they're not understanding is they're not learning anything.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
some of them go on and have, opportunity because of whatever the case may be, family opportunity. They do go to school and maybe make it or whatever the case may be. But with me, it's the people that sit there and just continue on, and especially being in the restaurant industry for 20 years, I've seen these people. They just jump, they're just being servers and cooks and things, and they, for all their life, for the next 20, 30 years, that's all they do, because that's all they really wanted to do. They didn't want to sit there and learn a skill. And when I say skill, I mean serving is a skill. I was a
Yes, it
server,
is.
and I started off as a server. And when I went up to tables and stuff, I was upselling. I was doing everything to make that ticket as big as possible, so that tip was as big as possible. And that put me in bartending positions, and then that put me into management positions. To the point where I was in the industry for 20 years. And pretty much got out of all of it what I could get out of it. I was stuck, and then decided to take the jump into real estate. But nobody was there to help me. Only I could change my own mindset on how I was going to sit there and become my kind of successful.
So my question, thank you. That's awesome. My question is, and I hear you say you agree with E, and that's cool. That's what we do. Voice our opinion. But I still think I'm being misunderstood. You said you did XYZ, but then you started to get into real estate, or you did something.
He changed
You-
his mindset.
Yeah, but that was
You-
after I was 40.
Right, but I'm saying somewhere in there you decided, you made a decision. You looked at the possibilities around you. You saw an opportunity, and somewhere in there you begin to learn the real estate industry in that game. So my point in education is you have to be open to learn. So not just about
Yes.
textbooks, but on all levels.
Yes.
You have to be open, whether somebody's going to mentor you, point the way. You have to be open to learn. If you have a fixed
Yes, and-
mindset, you can't grow.
Right. When it comes down to education, if that's what you mean, because I had no education. I did get my GED.
See, that's education.
Right. But yeah, education was also learning my job.
That's
How to be the
education.
best server, how to be the best manager, how to be the best
Absolutely.
realtor. But it wasn't about going to college.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%.
So I agree with you if that's what you
That's
mean when
exactly
you say
what I mean.
education all around.
yes.
That's not
But
how you
I
put
can
it.
tell you
That's
this.
what
Really
I keep
honest.
saying.
That's not how you
Education
put it.
is
That's
education
not
on
how
all
you put it.
levels.
That's not how you put it.
That's how
that's
I
what-
put it.
No, you
Yeah.
didn't. That's
Well,
what
you
I was saying.
misunderstood me.
Hey, Jeff.
Hold on.
I do know that you are
Yeah.
a very successful realtor, and I appreciate you calling in and sharing your
Yes.
thoughts with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem. And let me tell you one other thing about
Yes.
education real quick.
Yes.
That I am getting ready to list a house to somebody I helped him buy a house. And this guy is $100,000 in debt.
Hmm.
And he went 4 years. He got a college, scholarship for football. He went to the college. However, his schooling was paid for. However, they made him live on campus and have a food program for 4 years, over $23,000 a year. Now he's $100,000 in debt. He got his bachelor's degree. Then he went to IPFW, which was what it was called then. And he, sat there and he wound up getting his master's for $10,000,
Yes.
and that's sad. I mean, because he doesn't even use it.
Right.
Right.
And so now he's
after debt.
$100,000 in debt.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if I could say one more thing that is the misconceiving thing out there is when people blame corporations and things for their situation. You sit there and people want, well, minimum wage needs to be $15 an hour. Well, now your rent just went up $300 a month.
Yes.
It sure did.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yep.
people
Yes.
get so upset. And you look at Chuck Ciroc and Mark Music, he's the Ruoff guy, and they started their companies here,
Mm-hmm.
and they started them very small. Chuck Ciroc
Right.
had a little studio off of Bass Road.
I know that place well.
Yeah, and so it's like these people and they give to the community so much. Chuck Ciroc does so much for this community,
Yes, he does.
but people will look at Sweetwater and go, "It's a big corporation, and he's making millions and millions of dollars." Well, why shouldn't he?
You're right.
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 Because he has the right work ethic.
Well,
And unfortunately,
Exactly.
a lot of people don't. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for calling in.
We
You
appreciate
have-
you, Jeff.
Thank you for having me, Neutral Voices. Whoa!
Thank you.
Hey,
Appreciate
that's
you,
what I'm
Jeff.
talking about.
That's awesome.
And I know we're going to get out of here, but I think Jill might have a few more quotes or comments before we get out of here. But
Yeah.
I just want to mention this is what Jeff said. I was having a conversation last night with a businessman, and the problem with the $15 hour minimum wage, let's think about this. You're going to double minimum wage in the state of Indiana if you give them $15. The unfortunate nature is gas goes up, milk goes up,
Mhm.
property goes up, rent. The only thing that probably won't go up are the utilities because that's dependent on what you use. But
Mhm.
think about the entertainment where you are. The gentleman I was talking to sells a product. So he has about 13 to 14 employees, and he's a small business owner. So if he raises his minimum wage to $15,
Mhm.
either one, he has to cut staff, or the product that he sells has to
Has to
increase
increase.
in
Well,
price for
hold
him
on.
to recoup that.
Hold on. In order for them to, and what they were saying about increasing the pay minimum wage to 15 is for companies that got 100 people or more. It's not for companies that small owners, small business
Like
owners.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for people, the companies that got 100 employees or more.
Okay,
so
but
we
here's
gotta
the problem
clear
with that.
Yeah, we got to
There
straighten
is a
that out.
problem.
I won't be able to hire people then. I won't have staff because everybody's going to go to that company that's paying $15 an hour.
Well, I mean, I would want to go there too.
Exactly.
And,
But
and,
then-
and work
So how
at your,
can
but
you
that puts
compete
me
with
in
Well, hold on,
poverty
hold on.
now.
I still can work at your job part time. Come on, bro. Don't get it twisted. Just think about it. You got a bunch of part time workers that you really ain't got paid.
Yeah.
Eh,
I feel you.
Let's
I
be
feel you.
realistic
I feel you.
about it.
I feel you.
Okay.
But-
All right.
But
I just thought I'd get that
before we
in.
get out of here, I just want to say that poverty is not anything that's going to be fixed at the people level. It's not. we can try. And I'm not saying give up hope and stop trying. What I'm saying is keep your hustle. Do what you need to do to survive. Make do with what you got to make do. But I think the only way it can happen is, one is you got to flip that tax pyramid. The least have to stop paying the most. And the most paying the least. You got to flip that tax pyramid.
What you talking?
I'm serious. I'm with you,
You got to
bro.
do that, and
Yes.
you gotta stop believing that your come up is your tax refund.
Right. Also, we need healthcare is killing people in the United States. So we need to find a better thing for healthcare. Like I said, medicine kills, from the older to the younger, health problems. You have a major surgery, that could wipe out your life savings.
Absolutely.
So there are things that the institution has to fix for us to get out of poverty. And I mean that
Amen.
across the board. Every country, every state, everything. Institution has to be fixed for us to get out of poverty. But hey, keep your hustle going. Do what you got to do.
I agree.
I agree. I've got a quote to read. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. It is the worst form of violence. It is like punishment for a crime you didn't commit. The opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is enough. The opposite of poverty is justice.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I'm so used to you doing your the
Amazing.
long version.
Yes.
I love it. Listen, and if we all have our opinions, this is Neutral Voices, and that's what we do. And your voice matters.
Yes, it does.
Here on the panel. So this is a safe place to have relevant conversation.
Right.
And just because I'm controlling the mic at this moment, I get to say, E, meet me out back.
I don't think you want it with me.
No, what I wanted to say is to keep your head up,
Yes.
America. And we're not here to place blame on just the institutions and organizations and the government, but we are here to remind you that you have a part to do too. So individually,
Yes.
we all can do our part
Right.
to make our lives better. So we have to be true to ourselves. And some of the things I said last night, I mean those things. So you have a purpose. So you got to dig deep within yourself and find it. This is Neutral Voices. See you next time.
When I say 7, y'all say days. Hunting for the cheese like a mouse in a maze. Been down all my life, mama thought it was a phase. Same OG, guess I'm stuck in my ways. Last night I had a